The salespeople come in, they're selling you different products and they say, and it has fluoride in it. And now I don't want fluoride in it. So if you ask them, well, okay, these are sealants for children's teeth. They have fluoride in it. That's going to prevent decay. How much fluoride? For how long? They can't answer that. The manufacturers can't answer that because I wrote to them. They don't know how long the fluoride is released for. They can't tell you how much is being released. And they seem to forget that fluoride is actually a poison. So these kids come in sometimes for fluoride treatments and then they accidentally swallow some and they're throwing up because it's a poison. If you read the back of the toothpaste tubes, they say if you swallow more than a pea-sized amount of this, please call poison control. The fluoride shows up in factories with a skull and crossbones. It's labeled a poison. It's a great rodent killer. So why did it become incorporated not just into our toothpaste, but into our water supply? So one of the industries that's out there, the pollutant that they had, or the whatever they had coming off of their manufacturing of it, was fluoride. And it was found that in this community that had a very high fluoride content in their water because of the pollutant from the manufacturer, they had a decreased amount of decay. And so they thought, well, then this is fabulous. Let's put this into everybody's water. It was never fully tested. It was never double-blind study. It was pushed ahead by industries that were not wanting to clean up their messes. And so we ended up with a fluoridated country. We are the only fluoridated country, civilized country. And part of that is because the side effects and the other issues with fluoride have been documented, and they know it's not a safe thing. It's been shown that in areas with high fluoride content, there's a much higher level, for example, of hip fractures in women after a certain age. Fluoride, when you look at it on an X-ray, the fluoridated teeth and bones look denser, but they're more brittle. They break more easily. So for people who have had high amounts of fluoride on their teeth or in their bodies, you can take an Explorer and scrape off little pieces of fluorosis, little pieces of white area and brown area off the teeth. They just kind of chip off. Doesn't mean there isn't decay underneath it, but we can't really see it on X-ray sometimes because it's a denser area and the X-rays are not made for that. And so that's one of the issues. It makes things denser but more brittle. The other issue is it's been shown, so there were communities in Japan that had a very high rate of fluoride pollution. And people aged there. It caused premature aging. They were bent over and hands were gnarly and they couldn't stand up straight. It had affected their bone growth so dramatically. And it was, so that's an overdose of fluoride. Clearly it's too much, but how much are we getting? You know, how much is in our water? How many gallons of water do you drink a day? And let's say, okay, I just drink bottled water, but do you ever get an ice cube? Do you ever get a drink with an ice cube in it? It's got fluoride in it again. Do you ever, they took it out of baby foods. They took it out of baby formulas because they figured out there was an overdose coming along. And so there is this enormous amount of fluoride that we're ingesting whether we want to or not. Anything that's been reconstituted with water. It's in wine, it's in grapes, it's in things that get watered by large irrigation areas. They have fluoride in it. And it gets absorbed in the soil and absorbed into the vegetables and the plants and anything else that's out there. So how much fluoride are we actually getting because of our fluoridated water supply? A huge amount. The other issue with fluoride is it competes with iodine. It can actually affect the thyroid gland. And so people are trying to balance that out by taking more iodine. But how much more iodine? When does it become an issue? How do you determine whether it's a problem or not? Fluoride also has been shown to children who have high fluoride counts have a lower IQ. Smaller sized children are born. There's a lot of information out there about the dangers of fluoride and how much fluoride is in there. There's a few activists that have gotten some communities to stop the fluoridation, but they're few and far between, and it's a difficult thing. I traveled to Iceland, and it was so interesting because I tried to buy water there, and I was told, you don't have to buy water here. Our water is fabulous water. And I drank the water and it tastes like it's alive. There's a different taste to it than what we have that's chlorinated and fluoridated, and all the other pieces of it are very different when you drink real water that's just from a natural source that hasn't been tampered with. I'm not saying we don't have issues and we have such a huge population that we really need to keep things healthy and sane, but the fluoride, I'm really not so sure about it. So even in my practice, when we are buying materials, is there fluoride in the material? And the salesman goes, oh, yes, there is. I'm like, well, we don't want that. And they're like, really? It's like, no, no, no more fluoride. We have to know what we're putting in people's mouths, and we have to make sure that it's a safe product and not something that's going to release fluoride for an unknown quantity for an unknown amount of time. So those are that's one of the pieces of the office that's different and needs to pay attention to.